Hi, David Matthew.
Hi. It's nice to see you, Allison. How are you today?
Happy to be with my younger brother, who
Oh,
wasn't here for the Thanksgiving celebrations while I was with the other two.
oh yeah. How was Thanksgiving down there in Florida?
Perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah. Except for the new uh, protein vegan substitute for turkey I tried this year.
Oh boy.
Like some years I'll bother with trying to get a turkey substitute and
Right.
see, and other years I'll just be like, screw it, I'm just bringing over like a hard-boiled egg, you know? And I tried a new one this year, and it was, and even they air fried it, so they gave it more texture on the outside, and it was one of the worst things I've ever had across my lips.
Um, you know, I have, I did this, I think you're familiar with this kind of progression that happens over time where I just started, started off like reducing meat and it wasn't anything intentional, like I'm going to be a vegetarian or I'm going to be a vegan. It wasn't that sort of, and I know that people do come to those
I did.
decisions for various reasons, but for me, it was just more of, it started off with health and then it moved into more of a spiritual approach to diet. But all the while, even when it was just vegetarian, things are so much better now. Like the
Oh my
substitutes are
God,
so much
yes.
better now.
Oh my God.
But still, on Thanksgiving, I just didn't bother with protein. I just didn't bother. I ate potatoes and I had I made a cucumber salad and there was there was
I know
just
that
plenty of
cucumber salad. That's a good little salad.
yeah yeah.
Very non-Thanksgiving-esque, more like
No,
Mediterranean or
it's
Italian.
very fresh. I don't know that it's necessarily even, it's not seasonal. Cucumbers in November. I don't pretend to know more about food than I actually do. I guess I know a bit.
Mhm.
But
You and that almond butter that I was really wanting to get a farmer's market stand going with
I
you
know.
selling that stuff. You rocked that almond butter, and it's so expensive. So I mean,
Yeah, it is. Yeah, no, isn't it funny how we go through I don't know, we go through these little passions, these little things that we explore in the course of life, and they just kind of they come and go. So that was something I was so into making. I had all kinds of
there you
flavors,
were.
making all kinds of things. And people, you get to a point with food whereby, because you can make anything from scratch, right? You can really make. You can make your own almond milk. You can make your own cheese. You can churn your own
Sure.
butter if you want to. It's just a matter of what you. It's just priorities. Priorities. So
I'm fascinated by the cheese making process. I've watched shows because we're going Glastonbury. It's in Somerset. That's the county, and that's where cheddar cheese comes from. Not that I'm
okay,
a cow milk cheese eater, as you know, goat and sheep.
okay.
There's tons of sheep everywhere, right? And so, like, I go to Bath has this annual food festival in October, right? Because that's what we're coming out of those retreats when I'm there for then, and it's phenomenal the kinds of cheeses they sell, and like cheese
Mm.
awards are given in England, and the European cheeses are big contest with the continent and the UK. And last year, Britain didn't take any of the top 100 spots. It was all over Europe, like Spain especially. And I
Uh-huh.
remember
Uh-huh.
buying like a wheel of Manchego in a market in Spain, in Barcelona, and it was I've never stopped eating Manchego. I love that cheap cheese. Um,
Well,
so yeah, cheese making fascinates me. Like, and even the way, like, I don't do the whey protein powder, do the vegan protein powder for years now. But even like where that whey comes from, it's basically like waste on the floor after the
uh-huh.
churning, right? And so, like, when does it become cream? And then when they use the clotted cream at the scones, like, when is it clotted cream? When is it the whey powder? Like, it's fascinating to me. So I watch shows like that are like people, archaeologists experimenting and
Uh-huh.
like living that way, like churning the butter, like and so like these different things happen, like I don't know that. And then I was at a cave, did I tell you this? I was at a cave where there was cheese aging. Yeah, it's I'm fascinated by the cheese making
Clearly, yeah.
like you with the almond
Uh,
butter. I'm not
well,
gonna make
I
anything
love
up.
but I love what we get into, and because it is I remember reading, um, Reading years ago, just about because you and I talk a lot about about energy and vibration and that sort of thing, and the idea that if you like if it's like Tuesday night and it's 6:45 and you got to throw a dinner on the table and like you're irritated that you have to do that, it's like that it's like that way of being, that vibration kind of, it's like goes into the food sort of way. We've talked about this sort of things. So the idea that you prepare the food, either whether it's for yourself or for your family or your friends, but when you prepare that food with love as an offering, that's what goes into it. So I try and be mindful of that. I'm not always super successful with it,
Sure.
as the primary cook in my house, but most of the time, especially, once I started exploring that sort of idea, because it makes perfect sense to me. I mean, if you think about the last time you like went to a restaurant. I mean, you can kind of tell when the food comes out, the people who are around you, when the food comes out, when the food is presented, that or like that versus going to a friend's house, a really close friend who just loves to cook for you. If you tune in, you can feel it when food is prepared by someone with love for you as an offering. It's completely different than just driving through and grabbing something.
David, one of my favorite aspects of living for that 10 years in Taiwan was driving home on my scooter from the gym, going to a Buddhist vegetarian buffet.
Uh-huh.
This is when I lived downtown, which is the majority of my time. I wasn't in the expat provided housing for foreign teachers,
Okay.
so I could immerse. And they had such a spread of like, and Taiwan has kick-ass vegetarian substitutes. I mean, it really
Okay.
does. And I'm always excited when I go to an Asian market here, or even like sometimes in a regular market, I'll see it's from Taiwan. They've been doing it a long time because of Buddhism. And so I became aware as I would sit down then at my house with my chopsticks and eat these substitutes after, weight training and cardio at the gym. Like, I remember the surprise coming over me, like, oh my God, these people chant over this food. It
Oh.
had such a purity to it. It was undeniable and a higher vibration. And then now I'm thinking about like, there's this tonic, longevity concoction that I discovered when I was in India for the yoga teacher training. And I played with the Ayurvedic doctor who presented that Ayurvedic component of the overall training. I left on the one day off a week we had, and I would go visit him and ask him questions. And I learned about Chavana Pravash, which is like nectar paste. And this
Okay.
is every time my masterminders who are training as vibration upgrade practitioners get to a certain level, I then share this particular supplement with them. I
Okay.
wait. So it's known as like this. The base is amla berry, and
The base is what?
amla berry, AMLA, which is
Okay.
typically a source of vitamin C if you look at supplements offered in the United States. That's one of the main places they go for the vitamin C. So I was taking this while I was there from what I learned in my yoga teacher training and talking to the Ayurvedic doctor. And I got back to Taiwan and I was like, oh my God, what is going to happen when I run out? Because I was like that with spirulina at age 19. I'm like, this has to be in my body. My body wants this. It's
Yeah.
a longevity component and it's feeding me in ways that are very nourishing. So I explored, and the only place I found was in the United States. And in fact, I'm not going to say that. Never mind. They have a stadium for 1,000 people, and they chant. They do the traditional preparation of the Chavana Pravash, and they chant over this 500 different Ayurvedic herbs in this paste. And the key component is the chanting that's in the ancient Sanskrit Veda, the Vedic chants
Uh-huh.
when they make it. And it's the only place I will go for this paste. So hell yeah, you can feel the vibration in food.
Yeah, and it's another thing we were talking a few weeks ago about learning through contrast. I think
Yeah,
this is
this
a
one's
great
a good
way.
one to learn some content. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and it doesn't, and of course, if I can't tomorrow get my hands on that paste, or I can't tomorrow get my hands on that food from the market in Taiwan that's been chanted over. Certainly, when
Not a market, honey, of specific Buddhists. This is important for me to point out so you can
okay,
envision what it's like to live in a society where people are riding scooters in monk robes, bald, where there's statues that are like 5 stories high of Guanyin and of Buddha that are even more gigantic than that. And this is a restaurant that Buddhists run and only Buddhists run and only vegetarians go there. And they play a lot of the times when I would go in there, I would hear Om Mani Padme Om.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, living that
Mhm.
way. You just visit with me for a second like that.
I can visit you in that way because so I guess what I want to say in this moment is because I have a tendency to romanticize things,
You're
right?
the
Like just me. It's just me, right? To romantic, like, as opposed to where I am right now, living where I am, doing what I'm doing, to romanticize maybe something like you just described, right? Living somewhere else, living in some other society, being in some other society. I have to watch out for that because I can take that in and love that and put that like on a bucket list. but 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 we were also talking about like I feel like there's some sort of parallel here. I'm not sure exactly what it is, but there's some sort of parallel here
go.
to that spiritual shopping that we were talking about, where like you hear about this and you hear about that, and it all seems like stuff that's just out there, that's far away from me, that's out of my reach, that's not part of my practical reality or what I can incorporate into my life, and so I romanticize it, right? But instead of that, taking the vibration, if you will, or the idea of anyway of what we're talking about here, and thinking about it as I cook dinner tonight, as I make the next choice, as I'm looking at ingredients. I have a beautiful, up here, I have a beautiful market I can go to with all kinds of produce, and I can.
A couple of them.
Yeah, for sure. And I can walk through. I can walk through there. Just plowing through at 5 o'clock on my way home because I'm making dinner and I have a list that I can grab this and I can grab that and that's on my list that I can grab and I can go home and make it,
Yep.
or I can actually, and I'm not just talking about mindfulness like presence. Of course that matters, but more about what we're talking about here, just kind of being aware of what's going on. Like I'm gonna pick these things up and I'm gonna cook these things. I'm gonna put them in my body. I'm gonna feed them to my family, and just if I'm not outwardly chanting Om while I'm doing it, or chanting a beautiful chant like the Buddhist restaurant that you described, if I'm just thinking from a place of gratitude, if I'm thinking of God, if I'm thinking of spirit, however you want to conceptualize that, if I'm thinking of Buddha, or I'm thinking about Jesus, or I'm thinking about whoever that point of devotion is while I'm cooking, while I'm buying the food, to me, I mean, I can do that, or I can romanticize the whole thing about like that's so far away, that's another country, that's another reality sort of thing. Wouldn't that be nice? But I've done that. I've been there and I've done that. So what I'm interested in is
Practical application into your daily routines.
right on, sister. And I love when I say right on, sister, and I'm actually talking to my sister,
Yeah, it's pretty
as
cool.
opposed to just like a female friend who I say right on, sister.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And I love that I'm the only one out of us four.
Hmm.
It's such a it's such a special positioning. Yeah. So all that you just said is so juicy. And it's funny too, because oh man, I could go in that direction. I don't know about that. The romanticizing, I feel like some people, when they hear me talk, like they're most likely people are like looking at the contrast between what you talk about and what I talk about. There's a comment on one of my YouTube videos of one of our episodes, and clearly that reminds me of this. Clearly, there's a contrast, right? And so people could hear some of the stuff I say because it seems so advanced and check out, and instead like resonate more with what you're talking about. with the daily cooking of dinner for the family. And I just want to be clear that all of this is based on conclusions in our consciousness, that we don't typically hear those conclusions. We hear the self-talk, we do, and it's only a small fragment of our beliefs, right? So beyond mindfulness and presence, it's, I want to shift just a little bit, looking at the sky.
Okay.
Thinking of how last night I was standing under that incredibly glorious full supermoon with this pure sky of Jupiter shining really brightly, and other stars shining really brightly. I didn't get my app because to identify, because I didn't want to get heady.
Okay.
And it was like this beam of, and I normally have selenite, that is the moon stone, around my throat chakra. I'm repairing the necklace right now. It was this beam of this super pure, milky, high vibrational diamond-like energy. It was so incredible. And so I'm sensing like there is this purification with these last 3 months of 2025 that's happening. And all of the astrology I read to do what I do and offer what I offer is gearing the word completion, completion of limiting patterns before we go into the new energies that we're really all going to feel in mid-Jan and mid-Feb, really by then. And I just feel like the purification of where we're used to being in our lives, the habits, the routine, what we're used to thinking about, like really just fuck it, like it just wants to just like get blown up. That's why I use the F-bomb, like just
Yeah, now I'm
really.
gonna have to check that explicit thing on the upload. All right.
I think it works. I'll let you find out.
You're all good. Continue.
Yeah.
Continue. I'm sorry.
No, all good. Practical application. Because I think when I do my long YouTubes, I think some here and there I do, and I think it gets by. Um, so this sense of like newness. It was I don't have words to explain the energy I perceived last night. But when we take that over to like somebody listening to the two of us and like having the contrast of like, well, what she talks about, it's out there. What David talks about is here in my daily life. Like just looking at how the mind naturally, inherently categorizes as its
Yeah.
base function,
Yeah.
and maybe letting yourself, like hands on hips, have a little bit more detachment and look at your mind and, hey, what if that's not even true? Or what if that's not even accurate? Or like, thanks, I hear you. And then like drop down into like feeling your body be lit up by what we're talking about. Because there actually is obviously a practical application to what I was saying. You can cook your food that way. You can also put your hand over your food and once they're on the plates and bless it. I mean, when I start teaching the energy medicine, there's stuff we can do with our hands at that point with the food. But I just really want to point that out because I know that within my own work on myself, man, is there newness coming in. And it's at the most precise place where we have the most power. What we choose, what we choose to think about, and how we frame it, and what we choose to focus on. And it's going to get more and more, it feels like to me, from everything I can see and perceive, of the world where our thoughts create our reality. We're going to see our power as co-creators way more than we're already aware of. So that purification I'm talking about, it's like high vibe food, high vibe thoughts, high vibe connections. Like just go high.
Well, it's like what you always say. What else is possible, right? How's it get any better than this? What else is possible? Those are the words, right? Because well, first of all, I love that you're responding. I love that you're responding to something someone said on YouTube. Like someone said something and like, yeah, let's talk about that. So because otherwise, hmm?
No, I don't know that they said it. It gave me the awareness.
Oh, fair enough.
Something
Okay.
directly. Yeah, yeah.
Well,
But you have a fan on my on my YouTube page under these podcasts.
okay.
There's a beautiful one on the last episode from
Oh, that's
11.
nice. That's nice. Thank you. Yeah, we almost went all the way back into the cosmos there, as you were talking a few minutes ago. Which, but I wonder if you can draw a this connection here because what I was,
You exhale there, brother.
as far as like the thoughts and what we think about, because that absolutely matters as far as what we're, as far as like, the extent to which we can tune in to something. You use the word like advanced, something higher. So let's just say something more. Turn that we can just tune into something more than what we're used to tuning into, which is what we're used to tuning into is really like habit, thought patterns, that sort of thing. And we can be on the spiritual path. We can be engaged in this sort of thing. And it's just, but we're human beings. So it's just like I catch myself on autopilot all the time,
Yeah.
and until I do, I catch myself and I go. I was telling you that story a couple weeks ago about how I went for how I was out for my walk and it was like 20 25 minutes where I was just
Yeah.
probably just looking at my feet, right? So
Yeah.
that happens. But where I'm going with this, like noticing your thoughts, noticing what you're thinking about, and then where I'm going with this is like a choice because what I was playing with.
My favorite territory.
Very good, very good. So I was one example I can offer with this is like with and there's countless, but like when I was doing a workout, right? So I'm downstairs doing like my push-ups. I have one of those. I have a backpack I told you that I got when I was in England that I use
Yeah.
that I put some weight in that I walk outside. But I have a different one that I use when I'm downstairs. It's just a little bit more like front and back. It's like flat, so it's easier to do like exercises with it.
Yeah.
And so I'm doing push-ups, right? And anybody who's ever done any resistance training at all, even if it's just a sit-up, can relate to this. You either sit down like you're going to go and you're going to do a certain number of reps, which is instantly limiting. Like I'm not going to go into like fitness and workouts here, but for on that thing, but you instantly limit yourself when you say I'm going to do this number of reps, right? So you say, okay, I'm going to go and do that until I can't do anymore.
Mm.
That's another way, right? So let's say I'm doing that. I'm doing my push-ups until I can't do anymore. And I get to a certain number. I'm like, this is really hard. And in that moment, there's the part of me, there's the thought, that's two more than you did yesterday. That's plenty. This really hurts. That's good enough. And then there's another part. And what I was thinking about was drawing this analogy, or not even an analogy, but a parallel to when you're working with a personal trainer. Yes, a personal trainer can teach us new exercises and show us how to do things and that sort of thing. But the main thing that they're doing, as far as I can tell, is that when I think that I'm at my limit, they say, you can do another. And so
You
if
do
I'm
the
my own
math.
personal trainer, right? If I'm in that moment and I think that that's enough, that feels like enough, I have a choice in that moment to listen to that part, or I can tune in to the part that says, there's plenty more. There's plenty more. You can do more. And so, like, whether you want to think of that as like your own like internal personal trainer in that example, or where I really want to go with this is there's just a higher part that is
Yep.
both of ourselves and beyond ourselves that
Yep.
draws us into something more. So you can take that example in any given moment and figure out, okay, which part am I listening to right now? Which part's running my show right now? So what I'm interested in, what I'm up to these days is just seeing how often I can listen to that part that wonders what else is possible, like we were just saying a minute ago.
Hallelujah. Ah! And what I love of what you just said is the application to your choices in your daily life.
Yeah.
That it's not out there something my sister does. that's too advanced that I don't want to bother with. But it's because that's where I go with all of my work. Bottom line, your choices. And the more that we can purify our consciousness, where there's limiting beliefs and patterns and all the stuff that I do and all the clearings and activations, it's a part. It's like you then have more fresh, vital life force energy or consciousness at your disposal to make choices from new possibilities. And it's a mechanism in consciousness that I discovered. Like I don't mean to say I discovered it like totally fully, because in the vibrational upgrade system I created, I realized that, okay, so in when I look at Western psychology and I look at the thresholds over our five physical senses, and then I look at the yoga teacher training, particularly the meditation aspect of, okay, so when you meditate, you're expanding your awareness, you're expanding your consciousness. And what I brought together was, okay, so that matches those two things I just brought up. So the more somebody meditates, the more those thresholds on our five physical senses are lowered so we can see and perceive more. And those are there for safety reasons. So we don't go nuts with all the data metaphysically that we are actually immersed in and living in. So it has a certain inherent pacing to it that is healthy, right? So I look at the fact that if we start to work with our consciousness, clearing the blocks is a way that I want to say it, or meditate. Meditation's slower, but it's definitely getting you there. Like in the last that 20 to 30 minutes, it's that flushing of the subconscious. So that your peripheral vision is expanded now. So you're perceiving, you might not be going like that, but you're perceiving new possibilities. Wait a minute. This is what I usually choose. I
Mm.
wonder what it'd be like to choose that instead. And notice the toning in that moment. Like there's inspiration, there's excitement, there's like we're meant to be living from that, especially coming up. There's been so much cleansing and purging, including COVID over the last like decades since 2012. We are in
Mhm.
that time now where it's like really, man, tune into what else is becoming possible now and get yourself adjusted so that you can choose that.
Yeah, yeah. Well, where I
It's so exciting.
it it is if you can get to, so talking about revisiting this whole like practical life application thing, I'm going to bring it like right to like nuts and bolts here, because the thought that
Before
came
you
up
do, before you do, it's nowhere to get to. You're already right here, right now, can just do that.
unless you don't, in which it's so easy. I mean, I have experience with this, especially because it's so inspiring often to think about this sort of thing, right? And you think, okay, everything Alison just said makes perfect sense to me. I'm just gonna when I was gonna choose that, I'm just gonna choose this instead. And then you don't. And then
Yeah.
right? And then it's 3 days from now, and you don't choose it. You realize that you did something or chose something that was absolutely habitual, and it's just so easy to, I don't know, be hard on yourself, not easy
My
with
God,
yourself.
yeah.
Not, I mean, the what as opposed to just celebrating that you just noticed. That, I mean, no, that's the noticing is the everything. I mean, that's what this kind of, I don't want to misuse like, the like awakening or being awake or just being aware. That's what we're talking about, awareness, right? That I noticed that I made a choice from a habitual thought pattern or from a conditioning or from my subconscious or something like that, that I noticed it is huge. And like
Yes,
I
the off the mat
celebrate,
work.
right. So I noticed it. Okay. And then the following Tuesday, I noticed it again. And then maybe like on the fifth Tuesday, instead of only noticing it after the fact, I actually in the moment make a different choice. So I guess what I'm getting at is being easy with myself and being and
Is
understanding that that They really, that whole word like advanced or beginner or newbie or
That's what
intermediate,
I
that whole thing that like again, our ego minds want to label things and put into pieces and cut up. It's just not helpful because this path of awareness and awakening and of spiritual life is, it's, we're always moving in one direction or another. It's not, um, it's not a straight shot upward for sure. And it's not anything. And anytime that I come down on myself for not having made that choice, that was the uplifted choice. That's actually the same part of me that didn't make that choice. Does that make sense? It's like
no, say that last bit again.
it's actually that's the same. That's just kind of, it's kind of like it's like our lower self, right? It's our lower self or our false self, the one that's I think was it Richard Rohr, Father Richard Rohr, who
All right,
talked
don't
about.
expand on it. Just say that last bit again.
I wish I could.
All
I
right.
did. I think what I said. I think where I went was, well, without a doubt, yeah. As opposed to like the boxing match.
Yeah, and man, the most inherent, I mean, this is the first tagline for my business. You can tell I'm straight back from Asia. This is a fridge magnet. And this is
Mhm.
also from my first signature talk, Make Your Mind Your Ally. The nature of the mind was my first signature talk. I bring that up because one of that is all about the inherent traits of the mind. One of the most inherent traits is to criticize yourself.
Yeah.
It, and it's in everybody, right? It's not, and I see so many people in the spiritual industry like, oh my God, I'm so bad, I'm so wrong. Like I recently had this beloved woman who is in my mastermind come over on the retreats in October, and she actually, for the first time ever I heard this, said, I don't want to get this retreat wrong.
Yeah. We're
You know,
so cute. Gosh, we're so cute
totally.
human beings. It's like, and I've had that same, caught myself say, well, I mean, this is a little while ago, but still, so I haven't said this in a while, but but when I hear someone say, I got to work on that, I got to work on that, I got to work, that doesn't feel good at all. That's not like
Feels
just,
like onions in my eyes.
yeah. Okay. Well, this was a fun one. Are we good?
Are we good? You're
Yeah.
the one with the timer. I'm not looking at it.
Well, I mean, we've got a few minutes here, but I feel like I like where this went.
Well, I feel like I want to say that it was weird for me, meaning in the context of rare, that I said what I said about like you can do it right now. You don't have to get to that point. And I only said that because of what you talked about earlier, the romanticism that you do,
Right.
the projecting outside of yourself, that possibility. But I also spend the majority of my time clarifying it's not like instantaneous. You can't watch a 9-minute video on YouTube and all of a sudden have your consciousness expanded because it's a progression so that you don't fry your circuits. And it's how much you can handle. If you were given the secrets of the universe, you'd implode.
Yeah, this is what you're making me think of. I love what you just said, and it reminds me of
Well,
something that I heard Ashanaya Swami say, where it's like you're on you're on the path, you're aware, you're devoting yourself to this higher way of being, and you don't think anything's changing. Everything feels new. Things kind of feel the same. You feel like you're the same, and then one day, whether it's been like 2 years, 5 years, 9 years, 20 years, whatever it is, you turn around and I'm paraphrasing her, of course, but this is what I heard her say, and it's like you don't. It's like I've completely changed. And I can absolutely have that a personal experience. Like if I look at myself
totally.
now and I look 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 5 years ago, 3 years ago, and I just look back, I'm like, wow, I'm
Lions.
thinking about things and seeing things and experiencing things and feeling things that, wow. And so this idea, it's like we don't get to see it. We don't get to see every incremental change, but as long as we're devoted and we keep trying and we keep after it, it just we
I
just
find
change.
it addictive in a way. like it's magnetic. I don't mean to use the word addictive because there's so many connotations out there with that. But like magnetic, like it has this pull, and once the momentum gets started, and you start to see and feel that lighter and like an elevation happening around you in your life, it has a pull to it,
Oh yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just started to sing "The Lion Sleeps Tonight" just for you audience members, because I just last week with my other brothers watched the video of David 30 years ago.
Oh, was that when I was in high school? Would have been more than that.
uh, with hair and like, what would you describe that suit you wore?
It was just a white suit. It was like very Miami Vice-ish.
Ah, that's it, Miami Vice-ish. Yeah, and he's on stage, and he's got some of his buddies with him, and the buddies are dancing. David's the main act, and the youngest brother, who grew up underneath David, looking up at David, especially after this episode, he's lip syncing in front of a high school crowd, right? And so at the very, he's dancing and doing these moves, and at one point at the end of it. Nice face. At the end of it, Seth, our youngest brother, points out, look for the girls' hands because they're all going crazy as David gets closer to them. And they did.
Where are you going with the story? Why are we telling the story?
Because you were saying if I reflect on me 20, 30 years ago,
Yes.
where I am today, and I just thought I'd offer a
Yes,
contrast.
very good. Thank you. Thank you for
You're very welcome.
outing me in that way. And I know that that video is nowhere on YouTube because it can't be because it actually uses like copyrighted music. So I can at least rest on that. That I
Did
know
you
it's
see
not.
Alan emailed it? Oh, no, not that one. Do you have a recording of it? You do, don't you?
I don't. If it is, it's on VHS.
It's on YouTube now. Is that how we watch? Yeah, it's Alan's YouTube channel
Okay.
on
Very
private.